All right.
Perfect. Hey, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. We have a habit here of having people come on their birthday. They seem to like to do that, and whenever we can accommodate them, we will. And so today's guest is Nan Simonsen. She wrote a book that came out about 2 years ago, and it's called Aging Powerfully. And she's a friend of mine, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't read it. And I just don't have time to read books with my eyes. I do Audible and I can get a book done a day. And I said, get it on Audible. I'll listen to it. She took my advice 2 years and 2 days after the hard copy came out. It came out on Audible. I listened to it. It was great. Now you can listen to it, or if you prefer to read, you can read it. I'll put a link below. And today is her 72nd birthday.
Woohoo!
You can see it by all the flowers
down there,
all the flowers and balloons. And you're going to learn a little bit about how you too can age powerfully. Please welcome Nan. Hello, Nan. Happy birthday.
Hello, everyone. Yay. Happy 72nd. And boy, do I have to thank AJ. I have to thank her for so many things. She had an interview with me, in May of 2021. And that was her 531st interview since COVID. That was March 20th of the beginning of COVID. And here it is a year and a half later. That was about aging powerfully. This is about aging powerfully, but the audiobook, which I probably would never have gotten around to if she hadn't said, I won't get to your book if you don't make an Audible.
Yeah, I can't do it. I really can't. Ever since I had a traumatic brain injury right before the concussion, and it's just really hard for my eyes to read. I'm not making an excuse. That's the way it is. And also, Dr. Lau recommended somebody highly to this show. He loved her book. And I said, look, you can be on the second it comes to Audible. So there's no downside to having a book on Audible. If anything, it's just an upside.
Oh, I think so too. And actually, the way I feel about it is that I'm turning 72. 2 years ago and 2 days ago, the book came out, and then the audio came out exactly 2 years, 2 days after that. And I am doubling down, that number 2. I am doubling down on this message. Why? You'd think I'd have something new to say in these 2 years. Man, I'm sorry, but we are not doing better as a nation physically. We've gone through COVID. We've understood the damage that is done by, let's say, eating willy-nilly. And we're actually probably in worse shape than we were before. And it doesn't have to be that way. We actually can live with vibrant health, with some easy to adopt, not always, well, I'll say simple to adopt, not always easy changes in our life that keep us stronger and healthier. So I want to thank AJ for inviting me on my birthday and having to add another show to her already killer busy schedule. She's up to 1,300 and what now, AJ?
Hold on, I'll tell you what you are. I know I passed 1,300. You, my friend, are, I haven't filled it in for a couple days. Let's see, that was Saturday, so you're about 1,310.
That's just crazy. Nobody has done this. So where we are succeeding as a group of people who believe that there is a way to eat that can stave off illness, reverse illness, and keep us going decades longer, where there's that belief, Chef AJ is a superstar of enthusiasm and actually of training, because she puts everything down in a way that we can learn from it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm celebrating by showing you what I'm going to have for dinner. My husband said this morning, what do you do? Or let's go out to dinner. And I said, no, we're going to eat what I'm going to show everybody today. The last time I was with her, I spent most of the time preparing food. This time I'm going to show you simpler things. And the funny thing is, a year and a half ago, I made tacos. What am I making today? Taco filling, because it's one of the easiest things to do. One of Chef AJ's favorite meals is a flat taco, meaning a tostada,
Tostada,
piled up, yes, with her Spanish rice, her Mexicali rice. And it's one of the best meals. I'll be having it again sometime next week. Well, today I'm going to be showing you a super simple taco filling. The last one was walnuts and cauliflower and just bursting with flavor, but it was much more complicated. This is super simple. It's something you can do right out of a package and a couple of packages. But instead of doing tacos or doing the flat tostadas, which is another use for it, we're going to be having taquitos, because during the holidays, and we are whole food plant-based exclusive, our families, nah, not so much. One of my husband's daughters she has transformed since we did, so yay for us. But not everybody else. And so if I'm going to feed them, I'm not going to offer anything else, but I want to give them things that they're familiar with and give them flavors they'll love. Well, I did these taquitos at 3 of our holiday meals, and boy, did they go. The kids, the younger people, the older people, everybody loved them. So you're going to be seeing air fried taquitos. You're going to be seeing the soup we're having tonight, which happens to be one of AJ's recipes. So you'll be finding that later, because it's one of her her Instapot superstars. That'll be the main dish. And then we're topping it off with a cake. And it's the cake that I used to celebrate when I turned 70 2 years ago. And that is a cake in a cup, a double chocolate cake in a cup. And all of these recipes are in the show notes if they fit. If they didn't fit, you can find them on my website, nansimonsen.com. So we're going to get to that in a minute. But I wanted to talk to you first about the power of food and the power of making a difference. I recently had a family member, someone I love so dearly, who went through a health crisis. He is, well, I'll tell you, it's my brother. And if you've read Aging Powerfully, it was the younger brother who got beat up in high school, and the principal said to him, well, cut your hair before you come back and things like that won't happen to you again. That was the last day of high school for him. He was 14, poor kid. Well, he ended up getting a GED and then 2 graduate degrees, and does music composition and composition and orchestration. Anyway, he does a lot of work in ways that will probably affect his health. A lot of sitting, a lot of late nights, and he was not taking very good care of himself. He ended up in the hospital just recently, and I couldn't help myself. If fearing being the pest that I can be, I said to him, whenever he said, I hate it here, it's all those things that you suffer when you're suffering in a hospital, because it's not the place to go and sleep and get rest. And I said to him, every time he said that, if you hate it enough, why don't you change your diet? If you hate it enough, let me show you some things you can do. And I gave him books. I gave him Unprocessed. I gave him Plant-Based Athlete by Robert Cheek, and he's one of AJ's repeat speakers. I believe I gave him Doug Lyle's The Pleasure Trap, because that explains to him and everybody why, if we eat conventionally the way we're told to in this country, we just get snagged eating the things that aren't good for us. And so I gave him a lot of books. I brought him some of my whole food plant-based muffins, and I just talked to him yesterday to thank them for their lovely card. And his wife, Jean, said, you know what? Edgardo has lost 30 pounds. Edgardo is feeling much better. And I was so grateful that he didn't take my intervention as a negative, but as a positive. That's what we can do if we live a life that serves us well, like Chef AJ does, like I am. And I'll give you a little bit of that history health-wise, and inspire others to do the same. Otherwise, what we see in our country is that people are getting more and more chronic diseases that lead to more and more medication and procedures. and no cure and a shorter lifespan. One of the books that inspired me a lot was The Blue Zones, and a lot of what we adopt in our whole food plant-based lifestyle has been shown to give us a decade or longer of vibrant health. I'll take that any day, because the opposite of vibrant health is exactly what my brother went through, which is, you know what? Maybe I didn't take care of myself because it was hard work, but being sick and feeling this cruddy and being treated this way in hospitals and medications and all, that's even worse. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do here today. I'm going to focus more on implementation rather than just the instruction. And by implementation, I mean how to put things into practice. One of the things that I believe very strongly is in the lifestyle as medicine, I'll call it credo, of the College of Lifestyle Medicine. They follow what Hippocrates said 2,300 years ago: let food be thy medicine, let medicine be thy food. Hippocrates was a vegetarian or vegan, as was so many of the people that we revere and that we follow in antiquity, people that we never realized were, including Einstein. And they knew something that was worth knowing, and that is that foods as close to nature as possible will feed our body and help it heal. So today's menu and today's recipe, the one I'm going to just start so that I can get it cooking, and then I'm going to explain what lifestyle medicine is. I'm going to talk about the pillars that become the principles of better health, but I'll tell you a little bit more about my story and what sort of fires me up anytime I, let's say, feel tempted to take it in the easier route. That is, eating anything put in front of me, eating those things that we see constantly advertised as the thing that is the hot food of the moment, which every time now I see something like that, either on billboards or ads, I think they're killing us. They're producing these foods that are simply killing us based on the ingredients they put in them. So let me get this started. I have an induction cooker here, and I'm going to show you what I use to make this taco filling. It's lentils. Lentils are one of our highest protein, healthiest legumes, full of fiber. And I made a batch of them. One, if you use the Instapot, 1 cup of lentils and 1.5 cups of water will give you 3 cups of lentils. Well, I just used a pound, and a pound of most legumes is about 2 cups, maybe just a little bit more. Let me grab something and show you something.
Chris says he never would have guessed you were over 70.
Oh, good. That's good news. I finished a half a marathon, by the way, just a couple of months ago in October, at the end of October. That was a goal that I had for the year. I'd run a couple of 10Ks. And I thought, I'll take on a half a marathon, and I did it. Okay, let's put a little heat to this. And if you want a very easy taco filling, one of the things that I would recommend is just getting cooked lentils. You can buy them canned. I think they're a little more soggy. These are steamed lentils. I happen to get these at Trader Joe's. They're steamed French lentils, and they're just shrink wrapped. They are as dry, and by dry, I mean not in a broth, as these. And these are the same thing. These are just, these are brown lentils, and I cooked them, a pound of them, put them in the Instant Pot last night. A pound of them, 3 cups of water, a couple of bay leaves and a garlic clove, and they came out just like this. Now, what I'll do with them is what I do with a lot of legumes. I do it with garbanzo beans, is that I'll put them in a Ziploc or a container and freeze them first loose so that I can kind of just shake out what I want when I want them. And then I have lentils put on salads and to put in wraps and things like that. The other thing that I'm going to show you that I always show when I cook is the principle of dry saute. People say to me all the time, Nan, you don't use oil? No, I don't use oil. There is a belief among some people that practice SOS, free eating, and that is salt, oil, sugar free. I'm not completely salt free. If I'm out and something is served, for example, one of our favorite restaurants will make me a nearly steamed, but I can't seem to get them to put no oil at all in this asparagus dish. And I'll eat a little of that because it's not dripping in oil. But when I cook, there's no oil used here at all. And do you see what's happening? Oh, I can't take this up. The induction cooker, and I'll give you a tip that I didn't know initially. And that was, if you're using an induction cooker, you might not use it for anything. It's easier for me to do this than to walk over the stove and keep moving the camera. But if you're wondering what bits of your cookware will work on an induction cooker, if you have a cool pan, just put a magnet up against it. If the magnet sticks, then it's going to work on induction. If it doesn't, I tried a couple of them, and it won't. This one is all clad. You can see maybe that this is browning lightly. I make my own broth, so this is my bottle of broth, and I'm going to put just a couple of tablespoons. It'll bubble up and glaze the pan. Do that a couple of times. That's going to give you just as much flavor as doing what most recipes will advise, which is putting in 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of oil, which changes the caloric density completely. I'm going to say a day's worth of eating. In other words, you make your breakfast, tablespoon of oil in whatever you're making, or you're not going to use butter if you're thinking whole food plant-based. But you have that in the morning. You have a lunch that has a couple of tablespoons of oil. You have a dinner that has a couple of tablespoons of oil in several of the recipes. And before you know it, you've had a quarter of a cup more, maybe, every day. That is at a tablespoon per, 100 calories per tablespoon. That's 480 calories more every day with basically something that's invisible. It doesn't change the taste when you're looking at a volume of food. I'm going to add some carrots to this. I'm going to add some corn.
Nan, I'm on your website, Nan, because I can't fit your show notes with your bio and all the recipes.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's no search function, so I don't know how to find the filling recipe. I don't know how to find any recipe, to be honest.
Actually, I'm guilty of having just the main categories, and then unfortunately people have to search.
So where would I find the taco recipe?
Well, now I'm thinking that the one that I am using today, the cake recipe is in there, but the one that I'm using today may not have made it to the website, but we'll get it up there by tomorrow.
Okay, so what I'll do then is that's good to know. Then I can just put up the links to the ones that are on there. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let me grab one other thing. Sorry.
Delicious vegan double chocolate microwave cake in a cup. I found it on your website. Perfect.
There are a couple of brands of products that make taco, just taco blend. There's one called Kinders that you can get at Costco. And theirs is organic. One that I use that's just easy. I happen to have a Trader Joe's within 3 minutes of my house, and I like the fact that they have a lot of organic product and don't charge a lot more for it the way some stores do. I'm putting in no more than about a tablespoon of this filling. I'm not using the entire package because I tried that once and it made it entirely too hot. And now I'm just going to add, this is about a half of the recipe. I'm not doing the full recipe because I already did the other half of it. to make in advance a tray of taquitos. All right. Adding what would be the entire can if I use the full recipe, but instead I'm using the other half of the can. And this is fire roasted Near Glen diced tomatoes, and they're organic and they're low sodium. Okay, a little more broth, and that's it. When I make this, and I make the full batch, that is this entire container, which is 2.5 cups of lentils, and what I had in my measuring cup is also 2.5 cups. Now, you may be thinking, what did you do with the rest of the lentils that you made last night? Because if I made a pound, and 1 pound makes about 6 cups, put it in the freezer, as I mentioned, but also leave it in the refrigerator in a container that I can put into, again, salads, wraps.
Want to hear a nice comment from a viewer?
I love nice comments.
Okay. Well, let's see. Kathy said that she got your book on Audible, and I want to read it exactly. Where did it go? Oh, there's a question about when did you start running, but let me find the nice question from Kathy. Where did it go? See, I have a different chat than with. And basically, what I remember is it was very inspiring, and she's almost 70. Lots of people are saying happy birthday.
Thank you.
Where did it go, Kathy?
While you're looking, let me show you all. This is the way this taco filling looks. You can put corn or not. You can put carrots or not. But I like it just like this. If I were having, and let me give you an idea. I call this a batch cook because normally the pan would be full. It will give me probably 3 meals, if not 4, because when you're making tacos, you don't have the same volume of filling that you would if, for example, this was just a soup, or let's say a stew, or like a chili that you're going to serve with rice and beans, in other words, rice and lentils. So you use less when it's for tacos, but it's when I would freeze something like this, and I do it with soup all the time, when I defrost it, I can decide then to do something more with it. For example, if I didn't want to make tacos a night that I defrosted this, I could add a lot of broth, add some cut up zucchini, cook it, and make it into a wonderful soup. And that's one way you can have meals that are at hand at any time. You can defrost something that's a small brick of, let's say, frozen mix, and add a broth, add a vegetable, have it with rice, have it on its own as a brothy soup, or just make tacos out of it. And I'll show you something that Chef AJ does with the product that she uses to allow you to make the taquitos really easily. I also wanted to say something to somebody that sent me, and if you've read my book, you know what sunflowers mean to me.
That was one of my questions. What's the obsession with sunflowers? Tell me why you love them so much.
Because they are a power flower. They're a flower that will grow in the worst of soils, the least of water. They are strong. They, as I say, don't play well with others. In a vase, sunflowers tend to be a bit of a bully. They're stiff. Everything else is soft. And to me, they sort of represent the way I want to live my life. And that is, I want to be strong when things aren't necessarily accommodating. And I also want to keep my face toward the sun. That's what they're known for. It's not that they look like the sun, even though they do to a degree, but it's that they follow the sun during the day. And so they're a flower that sort of bespeaks what the strength that a lot of us want. And so it is my emblem for everything. Well, I got this card yesterday or Saturday from somebody that I haven't seen and I haven't even spoken to in 10 years. I met her in Hawaii. Her husband is one of my husband's clients. They as a family, he's a CPA and tax attorney. And she sent me the card. It was so sweet that she watches my videos. She watches my cooking channel. Her name is Christine, and I won't give you the last name because I think I've already said too much, meaning that I'm not supposed to tell what my husband, who his clients are, and I've just kind of blown it. But in any case, she also said her birthday is today. Isn't that the neatest thing? And
Yep.
she said, you walk the walk, and I've learned a lot from you. So you learning any of you, learning anything from me, from Chef AJ, who has just, I'm going to say, as I said before, done far more than anybody that I've seen in terms of, I'm going to say, sacrificing time and energy to teach us, to help us learn what we can do to age with power. Pass it on, even a recipe, even an idea that will help other people realize that they can go maybe one meal a day, maybe one meal in a week, whole food, plant-based, until they realize that the food is fantastic and want that over something that's heavier and harder to digest. So one of the things she said to me, and she said she heard this from a Dr. Lustig, if food is our medicine, then the chef is your doctor. Isn't that wonderful?
I love it.
Dr. AJ. If food is your medicine, then your chef is your doctor. Just love that. Okay, so let me tell you just a little bit about my history. If you've read Aging Powerfully, you know this. If you haven't, then don't let this scare you, because it's just a small bit of the book. But sometimes people will meet me and think, oh, you've probably had a silver spoon or a easy life throughout your days. And that's not so at all. My mother, when she had a 2, 3, and 4-year-old, was left by my father. And I was born in 51. There weren't a lot of divorced people. And if there were, they certainly were not on any of the popular TV shows. I mean, we were the family without a father, and she did this all by herself, and he left her because he started another family somewhere else. I mean, yuck. So we knew that our dad had gone off with another family. And when my mother got really mad at us, she would tell us that we had driven him away, which was not the case. It just happened. But she also said, or actually my dad said, that he left her because she got too fat. Now, when you hear things like this and you're young, you're 8, you're 10, you're 12, and you believe that the way to keep a person in your life is to appeal to them physically, and only that way, it sort of sets you up. So when I hit the age where women start developing puberty, and I filled out a little, my mother said to me, wow, you're getting heavier. And I really wasn't. I was just a skinny kid who wasn't so skinny anymore. I stopped eating. And then I passed out at school, and they said, eat or else you'll be in a hospital. And I learned to eat and throw it up. In other words, I became bulimic decades before anyone even knew what that was. The problem is that I never stopped through most of my adulthood. And it was the scourge, it was the secret, it was the thing that kept me feeling shame my entire life. So when you hear somebody say that you can become addicted to food, you absolutely can. What happens is our body becomes addicted to, there's a dopamine rush when our body gets what it gets used to, that is comfortable. But so do we with behavior. We get addicted to certain behaviors that leave us feeling more comfortable because they're typical. There's a book, The Pleasure Trap. And Dr. Doug Lisle is one of AJ's monthly, every Tuesday, first Tuesday of every month. He is one of her monthly speakers now. He has his own show on her podcast, on her, what do you call it? Your broadcast network or something like. It's the coolest thing that you're doing. You want to mention it to them?
I'm kind of calling it Chef AJ's Broadcasting Network just for fun.
Like
It's still just Chef AJ Live. Thank you.
Okay, well, what Dr. Lyle writes about is exactly what I've been alluding to, and this isn't just making it up, and that is that we are hardwired to aim for and to want things that are hyper palatable, things that are loaded with high caloric density, simply because back in our ancestral days, those things were harder to get. And if we got a little and we kept going toward them, we could survive starvation, hard winters, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's not the way we live anymore, because everything is easy to get now. Food is very easy to get. And unfortunately, the manufacturers know that if they give us high caloric density, or the things that ping our pleasure centers, and that is oil, sugar, and salt in attractive combinations, in perfect combinations. They even use MRIs to look for those pleasure points in brains. I'm not making this up. The more of those foods we eat, the harder it is to ever stop. And those foods are not the foods that feed our body well. So when he wrote the Pleasure Trap, he's talking about all of this. And that premise, that reality, and breaking free of that is what allowed me to finally stop this addictive behavior that I had for most of my life. And because of that, I'm very, very grateful. When you read or listen to, I hope, Aging Powerfully, you'll understand a little bit more. That's not what the book is about. The book is about moving beyond any challenges and taking good care of yourself and adopting ways, lifestyle modalities that can keep us healthy, strong, fit for, as I said, decades more than we would otherwise. And so one of the things that made a huge difference to me when I finally realized that it's not, well, people say it's not what you're eating, it's what is eating you. That means that you're not going to recover from, let's say, disordered eating unless you get all of your ducks in a row. You can spend an entire lifetime doing that. You can spend tens of thousands seeing therapists, hundreds of thousands. And in my case, what I found was that wasn't the thing. I had to get myself metabolically balanced. And one of the ways that I did that was when I discovered a whole food plant-based diet. I had gone through a period as I was studying for a health coaching certification. It was a year-plus program, pretty intense study. And I looked at a lot of diet modalities. And so I tried a keto diet for a year. Well, that just about killed me in terms of my health markers: high cholesterol, high blood sugar, cardiovascular abnormalities, and then a bad gut. And so when I was finally certified, asked to be a health coach with lifestyle medicine, it was just at that time that I realized plants would make a difference. And it was people like AJ who did a course at a botanic garden of all places, showing us that we could eat plants for an entire meal. And I mean, for a meal as well as an entire lifetime, and be as healthy or healthier than we have ever been. And I went to this class at this botanic garden. They spoke for 3 hours. We had a plant-based meal, and that took care of it. I decided that's what I would do. And so when I went to a cooking class at this lifestyle medicine near me clinic, and they said they were looking for a health coach, and I said I had just become a health coach, they hired me. That's going on 5 years now. And with their help, that guidance, and my adopting what science has shown, science-based evidence has shown, is what feeds our body best long-term, feeds the planet best, is best for the environment, and boy, oh boy, is it ever best for the animals. That dietary style is whole food, that is plant-based, and as low in oil, salt, and sugar as possible. As Chef AJ says, do the least restrictive diet you can get away with. But some people find, for example, with me and sugar, I just don't use sugar in anything. I use whole food. For example, date paste, ground up dates will sweeten the things that I make here. Today, that's what you'll see in my cake in a cup rather than sugar, because it's just too easy to get used to something that is so appealing. And so let me take you back to lifestyle as medicine and those pillars that we're talking about, those things that I learned about when I began as a health coach with lifestyle medicine. There are 6 things that the College of Lifestyle Medicine encourages us to adopt. And again, this is with evidence. Well, speaking of evidence, I'll mention another book from somebody who I think, and Chef AJ has interviewed him several times, and that is Dr. Hans Diehl. I came to know him. He was at a talk that I did. He approached me and we had a wonderful conversation, and we've attended several things that they've done. Well, this little book, Take Charge of Your Health, I gave this to my brother, and when he was so ill, and I wasn't sure he would even open it, he told me several times when I called him, this is what he was reading. There are 25 interviews or testimonies of people that he had interviewed, or that his co-writer, a physician, had interviewed at a health resort, a health a place that was put together to help people get past critical illnesses with food and dietary lifestyle. Well, he has 25 interviews there, one after another, of the level of dis-ease that this person was facing, in many cases being told by their doctors that they were not going to recover. They would go to this institute, and from there, they learned how to eat well, sleep well, relieve stress, and exercise. And the stories written by the people themselves were evidence that this made all the difference for not only their health, but also their ability to go back into the world and as a healthy person who really had in essence been written off. The book again is called Take Charge of Your Life. When I bought this, I think I may have had to get a used copy because he wrote it something like 18 years ago, but it's still relevant. And when I gave my brother my copy, I went ahead and bought another copy. So thank you, Hans Diehl, Dr. Hans Diehl. Okay, so I'll talk to you about what the pillars are. I'm going to walk over here and start my air fryer to get it warmed up. The taco filling is completely ready, and I'll show you how to roll the taquitos, but I made them in advance. And when they are air fried, not a drop of oil, they're going to be super crunchy, super crispy, and absolutely delicious. All right.
Hey, Nan, let me read a couple comments before you go
Please,
on.
I'd like, yeah, I'd love
I don't
to
say
hear
it, because then they disappear if I don't get
Yes.
them. Tell her she looks approximately 50 to me, not 72, and I'm being honest.
I love you.
I made her banana beet chocolate muffins yesterday from her website, Yum. Happy birthday, Nan, from Catitude.
Oh, Catitude. Yes, hi.
Yep. And Chris says your book looks like a good read, and it's a good listen as well. I'll post that link. there was Linda wanted to know something about the see if I can't my chat disappears because I'm going so many places, but Linda had a question about something about cooking the lentils. I hope I can find here it is. How do you cook your lentils in the Instant Pot and how long do you do it for?
Okay, it's 1 cup of lentils, 1.5 cup of water. And as a matter of fact, I followed another recommendation, vegan under pressure. This is somebody else who Chef AJ knows well, Jill Nisanow. She's a registered dietitian, master's in science, and she has a chart. And I went with her chart for legumes and other things in because vegans under pressure is for the Instant Pot or a pressure cooker. And as she recommended, for 1 cup, if you don't want them brothy, 1 cup of the lentils, 1.5 cups of water, 6 minutes, and then leave it on natural pressure or natural pressure release. Super, super simple. And if any of you do not have an Instant Pot, I bought one, didn't use it for 6 months. It intimidated me. And I thought, well, I don't need such a thing. And then I started using it. It's so much easier to put something in a pot, push a button, walk away, which I literally did with these lentils, got back to it after we had taken a walk. And there I had a perfect pot of lentils, no stirring, no worrying, and all of that. So that's a little plug for the Instant Pot. And any other questions?
Yeah. Did you run all your life or are you a recent convert?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that because this is part of what Aging Powerfully is. And that is simply deciding that we're going to take on the stuff that I'll say scared us or that we start to believe we're too old for at any age. No, I started running at 71. At 71, July of my whatever year was 71. So that's a year and a half ago. No, half a year ago. I don't know. In July, I saw that our local historic Mission Inn was back to doing in-person, because of COVID, they had missed a year or two, in-person runs, 5K, 10K, or a half marathon. And I signed up for a 10K. I had never run. 10K is 6.2 miles, never run. Then I thought, oh, and I told people I was going to do it. I kind of got into this thing. Well, if I'm aging powerfully and telling you I am, I better do something about it. So I thought, okay, I'll run this. And so no, then I went online, Couch to 10K. There's apps called Couch to 10K, and they kind of tell you what to do. So no, at 71, I began running, and I ran 2 10Ks. And then I guess maybe it was 70 and a half, I began running. And then I did 2 10Ks and this half marathon in November. Yeah, I think I'm not going to do a marathon. The half marathon was kind of hard. 13 miles. I got COVID last year in June. And I had a case of long COVID. I thought, you can't have that if you're whole food plant-based. You walk on water. That's not true. You can get stuff, but you just don't get it hard. And if you do, you don't get it as long. And that's exactly what happened. That's all behind me now. But I did a half marathon with symptoms of long COVID, and that affects your lungs, and it was kind of hard. But what else? Anything else?
Let me look. Do you soak lentils? Anne wants to know.
No, you don't have to. Unlike other beans, you don't have to soak lentils. You take them right out of the package, rinse them. I always rinse my legumes and my grains to get dust and stuff off of them, and then put them right into the Instant Pot.
Very
Anything
cool.
else?
I'm looking. I have some questions on your book, but I want to wait till you're done cooking because I know.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is we have the lentils done. Let me show you how to wrap a taquito. And I'll move this back here. Heat this pot. My favorite way to heat these tortillas, and let me show you what tortillas I use. I use an organic tortilla because I'm sensitive to gluten. I need a gluten-free tortilla. It's hard to find gluten-free corn tortillas that are also organic. But there's this brand, it's called Mi Rancho.
I love
And
Mi Rancho. I like
Oh.
the Thin Credibles.
that's what I have. So AJ, and I know, and I thought about this, I worried about this because I thought, oh, this is going to be so frustrating for some people that can't see. It says Thin Credibles, that can't find them. You can find Mi Rancho on Amazon, but you can't always find the Thin Credibles. I get them from my natural foods market. So you might want to call around because they make these and they're very popular. And what's the value and the difference of the Thin Credible? They're rather thin, really thin. They're only 35 calories each. So today for dinner, I'll probably have 6 taquitos. 6 taquitos is what, 200 calories worth of corn tortillas, and then whatever filling. But you're going to see that you use very little filling in a taquito, and that's kind of what's fun about them, because you have a crispy, crunchy, oil-free tortilla. And again, if they are a quality tortilla, they're not GMO, and they're not sprayed heavily. Most grains, a lot of grains are sprayed heavily, and that's why I don't go with anything but organic. And I say that, and yet if I'm out and I'm going to get a taco, who knows where that taco came from? You'll see, oh, you can't see, I'm sorry. Here, look. I have a pan on, let's say, the stove, and I'm simply heating the tortilla. This is very traditional. This is what they do in Mexico, heat it on a grill to soften it, to make it more pliable. Well, I like to take a saucer, put 4 of these on a saucer, put another saucer on top, put it in the microwave for 25 seconds. And I get it pliable, but also slightly moist, because they sort of weep in the microwave. And then what I'm going to do is I'll build this, the taquito. And this is how much of any kind of filling you use. The filling flavor is sort of just a hint. And then you'll see some fixings that I'm going to use with it. This is it. I'll put it on here, and I'll do just a couple more to show you.
You know who has good tortillas too is Mama Says.
Does Mama Says have
They're organic,
Thin Credibles?
They're not quite as thin as Thin Credibles, but they're pretty thin. They're really tasty.
Okay, and pliable. That's what you want. One that's nice and pliable. And you don't have to make taquitos out of a thin tortilla. I just like the thinness, because what it does is it gives me the ability, instead of 7, you know what? Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself. No, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and I'll interrupt myself. Most tortillas are 70 calories. That's not a lot, but they are. These are half that amount. I don't, and this is the part that I was beginning to say, I don't count calories. I don't count calories, I don't count carbs, and I don't count protein. So if you're thinking, but man, how are you going to age powerfully if you don't get enough protein? If you eat healthily, whole foods of a variety of sources, you are going to get the protein you need. If you're not eating junk, if you're not eating packaged food, if you're not eating processed. If when I spoke to my brother, and if he had said to me, but Nan, I can't change what I eat, but I want to be more healthy, my first words would be that stop eating processed food completely. If it comes out of a package with a bunch of ingredients and it's denatured by processes that you would never do in your own home, just don't eat those foods. Eat food as close to nature as possible, because we have a microbiome. That microbiome is only fed by plant foods, and that microbiome basically regulates your health, your immune system, your vascular health, your brain health. The microbiome is even responsible for 70%, 80% of your neurotransmitters, those things that make you feel really good or really crummy. And put this away. And these kinds of foods, real foods, even a tortilla is just ground up corn without anything else, maybe a little bit of salt and maybe a little bit of lime or lye. But that's not as whole food as I would recommend you eat all the time, but to have them on the side, yes, I would do that. Eat like that, and it helps your body fight off the things that a body cannot, when all it's being fed with is processed foods, animal fats, saturated fats. We just can't. Those aren't foods that love us back, in other words. If you love the food that loves you back, that nourishes you, you eat as much as you want, you eat well, you feel great, you get better all the time rather than getting sicker and sicker. I'm being so unscientific as I'm saying all of this, but I'm going to say all this because I'll talk about the pillars, but I have a present for you and I'll mention it now. And that is that I told you that what I'm most interested in going forward now is implementation, helping people learn how to implement these ideas. And so I'm offering 3 classes. They're hour and 15-minute classes with questions and answers to follow for free in February, the 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd of February. There's a link for you to let me know if you're interested, and then I'll send you the link to the Zoom meetings. And I'll break down these pillars of health to, I was going to say 2 for each class, but one of the classes, the middle one, the 16th, is all about foods and nutrition. The other ones, I have 2 pillars in each one, and I'll be discussing not only more fully why these are important, but how you can adopt them in simple ways just to get yourself started on the road to health, rather than feeling that as the years go by, you're getting more and more challenged physically, but just don't know what to do with it. And I hope that helps. That is my present to you. So do you have any other thoughts or questions, AJ? And then I'll talk about what the pillars are.
Well, I finally found the comment from Kathy. I was able to get Nan's book on audio yesterday. I've listened to the whole thing. I will be 70 this year and found this book inspiring. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, thank you, Kathy.
Terry says happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm going to put these taquitos.
Jimmy James Oliver says you're awesome. She's going to send this to her mom.
Nice. Thank you. I'm putting the taquitos in my Breville hot air oven. I have this because of Chef AJ and Tammy of Let Make Notebook. And they take 5 to 7 minutes. And then I'll show you what we're doing for dinner. Okay. Okay.
If you weren't making your own dinner, where would you be going tonight?
Oh, probably to the Asian bistro that I love so much. It's called Monarch Asian Bistro. They will make for me. They have dishes where they can serve tofu. I don't want that much tofu. I want mainly vegetables. And my entire meal is a very light garlic sauce that and brown rice and asparagus and Chinese broccoli, this giant pile of it. And I eat the whole thing. And it is remarkably delicious. That's where we would go. Okay. I'm going to, before I get into the pillars, I'm going to show you how to make cake in a cup. This is so cool. I first mixed up cocoa, and you've got the recipe for this. I first mixed up oat flour, and I make my oat flour by just oatmeal, rolled oats in my blender. What's the high-speed blender?
Vitamix.
Thank you. In my Vitamix. In other words, I just turned it into flour. So it's oat flour and just a tablespoon or two of any of these, of all of these. Oat flour, almond meal, some cocoa powder, and cocoa powder is not sugary and it's not fatty. It's just the cocoa with everything else not added to it. And chocolate is flour, is sugar and the butter fat, which is why most people think chocolate is really fattening. Cocoa is not. It's like 20 calories for an entire tablespoon. And this whole thing has a tablespoon and a couple of teaspoons, a little baking powder. And I mixed all of that together. And then I mixed together some plant milk, some plant or some nut butter. In this case, usually I use almond. In this case, I use walnut nut butter because I just happen to have it. And a little bit of date paste, some vanilla. And then I'm going to mix it up in a cup. Throw in the liquid. Mix it gently. And put it in the microwave for 1 minute. Get it mixed well, because you have so little room in here and so few ingredients, you do want to measure carefully. In other words, when it says a quarter of a teaspoon of baking powder, you do want to measure that carefully. And the amount of liquid, which is plant milk, I used almond milk, so that you really get it to work. All right. And I'm going to use my little spatula to make sure that, see, I'm coming up with dry things at the bottom. And that wouldn't work well if I didn't. All right. And now, let's put it in the microwave for 1 minute.
That's going to be your birthday cake tonight?
That is my birthday cake tonight. All right. So let's talk pillars. And again, I'm giving you, I'll call them general descriptions, and I hope you'll take advantage of my class to really learn how to do it. But my book, and I do want to encourage you to, with Aging Powerfully, to consider it a bit of a reference guide, because each of these pillars are broken down into an acronym powerfully. The first 5 are lifestyle as medicine. In other words, lifestyle medical pillars. The last 5 are, I'm going to say some more generalities, things that were recommended in the blue zones, things that were recommended by Catherine Hansen, who wrote Radical Recovery, the recovery of over 1,000 patients who were told that they were terminally ill with cancer and how they recovered. She put 9 commonalities out there about how these people in general recovered. And it was a wonderful read, but also I used a lot of what she said as it relates to how we can change just general health. It doesn't even have to be anything as serious as a terminal illness, to turn our life around with some relatively simple changes. And those are all covered in the word powerfully. And so if you look at any one of them and you read it through or you listen to it through, it's really more than you can, I'll call it, digest and do. And so you can go back. How's my sleep? I think I'll go back to that chapter. There are 20 things recommended. I'll try 5 today or this week. And you can use it in that way. When I didn't narrate it itself, myself. You'll read in my book that I'm dyslexic and I don't read well. And I tried to dictate well enough to be my own narrator for my book. Couldn't do it. it would have just been a exercise in frustration. So I had somebody narrate it for me, but in any case, yeah, you can use it as a reference guide and go back and listen again and again. All right, let me show you something because it's just finished. This is our cake, and I've got to throw on it. I forgot to put this on, people. Shame on me, but that's okay. It's still hot and they're going to melt. It's called double chocolate because these are vegan, sugar-free chocolate chips. I'm going to let them melt in, and then I'm going to spoon this up and show you what this looks like. It's so yummy. Okay, we have taquitos finished. We have cake ready, but let's talk about those pillars of health. And they're logical. You hear this all the time. You can read, I just read the Costco health issue. In other words, Costco comes up with their monthly magazine encouraging us to do certain things that, well, coincidentally, are backed by the products that they sell. Well, sometimes it surprises me how close they come to recommending that we be whole food, plant-based, and then they'll have other recipes that show what to do with their salmon and their pork and their chicken. But just recently, there was an outline of health measures to help us age well. And they were the same things that we talk about in the College of Lifestyle Medicine. First of all, it's food. It's the foods that we eat that nourish our body the best. This is understood even by the World Health Organization. They're recommending this to the planet, and that is whole foods that are plant-based, or as close as you can get to that as possible. If somebody said, I will never give up my meat, I'll say, fine, cut out the processed foods, not fine, but try, but cut out the processed foods, but add greens, add fruit, add legumes or grains or seeds or nuts. You don't have to have seeds and nuts. You don't have to have grains and legumes, but you really want to eat more and more and more, even half of your plate if you can do it, of vegetables, especially green vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, vegetables of every color. They make a huge difference. In my class, I'll even tell you what those different colors do for you. So you eat the rainbow, eat more combinations of foods. Whole food, plant-based. We've got nutrition. We have movement. Movement can mean exercise. One of my classes is about that. What counts as exercise? Movement is exercise, but movement is also using our body to allow it to even strengthen our brain. In other words, if you use your leg muscles, because they're the largest muscles in your body and they pump your blood most strongly upward, using your body, using your legs to exercise will actually help your brain and help prevent Alzheimer's disease. So movement has everything to do with longevity and health, and we'll talk about that. The general recommendation is 150 hours a week. That's 20 minutes, 150. Is it hours or minutes? Oh, come on, Nan. 150 minutes a week of exercise, and that's 20 minutes a day. We can do that, but I'll give you more interesting ways to look at that. Besides that, we're looking at community. If you're lonely, it's a stressor. If you're sad, it's a stressor. If you feel alienated from people, that's a stressor. If you're stressed, you're not going to process not only food, but you're going to be emotionally distraught. For that reason, we talk about community and how to reach out to others and be open for the relationships that can make a difference. That's one of the pillars. So we have nutrition, we have movement, we have community, and then we have rest and sleep. Sleep is, some doctors say, every bit as important as food, because if you don't get enough sleep, you damage your brain and you are bringing on a chance for early Alzheimer's, but also a change in the way you process thoughts throughout your day and ultimately throughout your week and months to come. And so sleep is important, but how do you make that happen? I'll talk about that. Stress, relaxation, learning to turn off anxiety, all of that is also that pillar that we call resilience in lifestyle medical, but there are two pillars kind of added to one: relaxation as well as getting enough sleep. Those are the pillars of health. Sounds too simple. These things you hear about all the time. You'll read article after article about it, but how do you implement it? I'll help you do that. And Aging Powerfully is about that. It's about lifestyle modalities that can help you age with power. AJ, are there any questions?
Yes, Susan wants to know, is there a way to make the mug cake in an oven? I guess she doesn't have a microwave.
Oh, yes, you can. 15 minutes in a 450-degree oven. But you got to make sure that your mug is strong enough, that is oven proof. So you might want to use like a little bowl, like a little ramekin would be something that you can put it in. I just think it's fun to eat it out of a mug.
Hence the name mug cake.
Yes. All right. So let me show you what we're doing for dinner tonight. I have, and I put carrots in everything. I don't know if this is in her original recipe, but I have Chef AJ's black bean and mushroom chili. You just throw everything into the Instapot. It cooks in just minutes, and it's a delicious chili. As a matter of fact, this one was defrosted. We're going to have it with things that we love, like a pico de gallo that happens to have mango in it. I have from Chef AJ's book, Unprocessed. I have her creamy Southwest salad dressing, but I made it thicker. So I used less of the water and less of the lime juice so that it was thick enough for me to dip my taquitos in it. This is a hatch chili salsa, and I'll probably make some guacamole, but I didn't make the guacamole yet. I want to show you the taquitos. Take a look, everyone. Can you see they're lightly browned? Let me get this off and I'll put this down. They're lightly browned. I'm going to dip them in Chef AJ's sauce. Oh,
They look great. Are they crunchy?
oh my gosh. I don't know if you can hear this. See that?
Susanna
Yeah.
says they look fantastic.
Mm. Oh, very good. And then
It was so late to do this, I know, but it actually worked out good because it leads right into your dinner time.
well, that's exactly right. Tim's just gotten home. Hi, honey.
Hi, sweetheart.
A little bit of ice. I'm going to have some bubbly. I hope that you're not offended if I make myself a cocktail, everyone. I'm just kidding. I learned this from AJ. Spindrift. And this is raspberry spindrift. I am using balsamic vinegar. Believe it or not, she does this, and it's fabulous. This one happens to be chocolate orange balsamic vinegar from California Balsamic. Vinegar in a sparkling soda? Are you kidding?
It's like Italian soda.
You got that right.
I mean, Trader Joe's actually sells it already in a can. They sell cans of soda that are made without sugar. There's apple cider vinegar and like sparkling water.
People, this is delicious. Absolutely delicious. Chocolate raspberry. And then, happy birthday to me. I have 2 birthday napkins. Not only happy birthday, but aged to perfection. And let me show you my cake. Look at this.
Looks very decadent.
Oh. This
Carmina says they all look fabulous. Catitude says, I'm so hungry right now. Pam says, delicious. Yeah,
This is
it's called is it Spindrift or Spindrift?
It's Spindrift. So Spindrift.
Spindrift. They have it at Trader Joe's.
They do.
They have it at Costco. It's just a tiny, tiny bit of juice and sparkling water.
Yeah, no calories.
Yeah, some are 0. The one grapefruit is 17 calories, but it's very good.
Oh, you know what? I said no calories. This is lime and raspberry. Oh, I fibbed. The entire can is 5 calories.
You better write that down.
Yeah, and then I've got the chocolate balsamic. I'll have my chocolate cake after we eat our soup and our taquitos. And I want to introduce you to my husband.
Hi, Tim.
Hi. I think we've met.
They've dined together.
Yes.
So
Nice
I
to
want
see you.
to wish me happy birthday, but I want to wish you happiness throughout your days. And if there's anything that I can do to help through my book, through my class, I'm here for you, because by doubling down, I mean, for my next 1, 2, or 3 decades, I want to be in a position where I can help people understand that they absolutely can take control of their health using lifestyle as medicine and age powerfully. AJ, anything else?
No, and this is free, those sessions, they're completely free?
They are completely free, and there's no catch to it. There's no, and then I'll do another course for whatever cost. If I find that there is more of a need to do a second set of sessions, I'll do those free as well, because I am, as I said, determined to do what I can to make a difference to as many as I can.
Well, that's very nice of you. What a nice birthday gift you're giving everyone. And I put it twice in the show notes and in the chat. So sounds like a lot of fun. Well, I'm going to see you on Saturday.
Oh, tell them about that, Chef AJ.
No, we should have just done the show from here. Well, we're sold out. We're having our 20th conference here. It's called Live Your Best Life in Sacramento. And Nan is coming up with Tim, and she's coming for dinner Saturday. Yay.
Yay. And tell them what you're having.
What am I making? I can't even remember now. I'm making tostadas, of course. That's all I have. I'm a
This is what I was talking about. She
Yeah.
uses this. Now, she could use the air fryer and do exactly what I did.
I'm just going to buy the ones, but I'm doing
Oh
a
my
different
God.
filling. Listen, I'm doing a different filling because usually I do the tostada rice, but
Yeah.
Trader Joe's has been out of their fire roasted onion and pepper. So I'm doing a recipe from Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss. It's a tostada filling called All-Star Tostadas, where it's a cauliflower chorizo. So the meat is made out of cauliflower, mushroom, and onion. It's very good. And yeah. And your
She
friend
introduced me
is
to
bringing
this.
cheese sauce. Your friend is bringing her favorite cheese sauce.
And I'm bringing crudités with Chef AJ's creamy Southwest dressing.
Yeah.
And this brand, Guerrero Horneados, which are baked tortillas, a tiny bit of sea salt, no fat at all,
I
super
love that.
crunchy and gluten-free. And she serves them by doing an entire taco bar, and people simply build their tacos. Kim and I are such a fan of this that at least once a week, I'll put whatever thing I've got around the house and just keep piling them up. He loves the avocado, and so we'll have lots of guacamole on it. And then my sour cream, I always have on hand my own vegan sour cream. And this is just silken tofu, a couple tablespoons of lime or lemon juice and some onion powder, onion salt, and that's in my website. So I think we're done.
You're going to have a great dinner, but even better than the restaurant. Jimmy James Oliver says, I made the cake in a cup, and wow. And the name of the tortillas, Candace, is Guerrero, and they come no oil. So you got to check, because some of them have oil, but they always have a little salt. Yes, Elizabeth, she really is 72. Anne says, what a lovely presentation from a beautiful woman. I always love hearing from Nan. And somebody's saying you're selfless. I heard that. Oh, Chris says, Nan, wow, passionate and selfless. So that's so nice.
Well, that's being said from a person who 1,310 times has interviewed people to get this information to you for free. That's selfless. Well, she inspires me like crazy.
But I do enjoy it. And I try to get really good people on. Well, we didn't really get to talk much about your book, so maybe you'll come back and talk about that. But I will say that it's not a spoiler word. It's a tale of resilience. That's how I interpreted it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's a good story, and then some directives that can help you make whatever you want out of your life.
And it'll let you think that it's never too late. Right?
Yes.
I don't even know. Today's Monday. I'm so confused. Once this regular lineup keeps going, then I'll be able to know what day it is by who's on. By the way, this shirt, Nan gave me this shirt. That's why I'm wearing it. Well, Nan, it was great spending your birthday with you, or part of your birthday.
Thank you, everybody.
A wonderful evening with Tim. Roller Girl says, Nan, your skin is beautiful too.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's the food. It's the food. It's the food. It's the food.
And Morgan says, you carry yourself with class and grace. Well, she always did, even before she was plant-based. I'm pretty sure. I think that's just who she is. She's a class act. I don't know what she's doing hanging around with me in Rancho. I don't belong there. She belongs there with all the ladies.
Get out of here. Yeah, I've actually been a sous chef for Chef AJ 3 times at Rancho La Puerta.
Can you believe it, man?
Yeah.
You can buy Guerrero online. I see them at Walmart. I get them at Rayleigh's. I get them at Safeway. So
just make sure you get the baked, the cornetas, which means baked.
Yep. Oh, I didn't know that meant baked. Well, how do you like that? All right. Well, thanks, Nan. Happy birthday. Maybe we'll do this.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. These were flowers from my son. And balloons from me. And happy birthday and happy life to you. Bye-bye.
And it's never too late to age powerfully. Get the book. You won't be disappointed. Thanks, Nan. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for Lissa and Nate. It's called Feeling Great with Lissa and Nate. They're from Raw Food Romance, and they're going to be making a raw lasagna. It looks delicious.